From the truth, I could buy it, but it's just a rental. It's not a good investment. Being bad with your money is being good at flexing. They always chasing a bag, I guess they couldn't catch it. They trying to be like me, but it's not a good impression.
So Donald Trump won and ruined the planet. But not like the planet we live on. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Planet 13. I always say I'm going to make a video on Planet 13 and explain certain things about it, but I haven't, so I figured we'd get it all done in one, try and save time for everybody. The planet, which I call it the planet, but it's Planet 13. It's a marijuana dispensary. Marijuana is not federally legal, so therefore, hey, look, it went down to penny. Therefore, it not being federally legal, big places and investment markets, they can't even buy it. It's not legal for them to buy it. When I first got into Planet 13 and bought my shares, I actually tried to have the guy that runs my account at Stifel Nicholas put the order in for me, and he said, unfortunately, since it's not federally legal, we're not allowed to buy that stock. So there's ridiculous amount of money that can't even go into this stock because it's not federally legal. And the reason that stocks went up when Donald Trump won, but Planet 13 and pretty much across the board, all the marijuana stocks went down, is because he's the only candidate that doesn't talk about federal legalization. He's not for it. He doesn't ever bring it up. It's not even in the conversation. Whereas I want to say every other candidate, winning or losing over the last 3 elections, have at least touched on it and spoke about it and have said that they were open to federally legalizing marijuana and the sale of marijuana. But he hasn't. So when he won, that pretty much told everybody that the federal legalization is going to be on the back burner. That's nothing he's even looking into. That's not in his top, things to change. I'm sure you're well aware of the whole situation. I know immigration's big. Bringing jobs back is big. Tariffs are big. He has things he wants to do and things he's focused on, and federal legalization isn't anywhere even in the scope of possibilities for him. That is why when he won, all of the cannabis stocks pretty much took a little bit of a hit. As I said, if you watched the last video, every other stock pretty much went up. I said if Trump won, I thought for the next 3 to 7 days, the stocks would go up, which they have. If we look over here, Planet is back, but every other one is done today, or down today. Let's look at this. So Planet 13 over the past 5 days, which would have put it on November 6th, the day after the election, it's down 12% pretty much. If we look at him stock, this thing blew up. It's up 25.27% over the last 5 days. Honest Company, 12%. PayPal, 6%. And Wynn's actually down. I didn't know that. Okay, Wynn's actually down 1% over the last 5 days. So the majority of stocks, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies have been up on the anticipation of what Donald Trump is going to do, how the market's going to be, how the economy is going to be. So everything went up. But at the same time, it can't continue to go up. That's never how it works. It's never going to continue to go down forever. It's not going to go up forever. And like I said, it'll last for 3 to 7 days. Well, we're at about that 7-day mark now, and we're starting to go back down. Planet hasn't had a good run through any of it. After the next day, boom, down. It built back up a little bit and then boom, down. I I would say, if I had to guess, Planet 13 is, for the next 4 years, really isn't going to have any good news. Um, Unless something changes with the politically, I don't see it making anything. I mean, now granted, it might get up to $2, $3, something like that, which of course, you're talking 4 or 5 times your money. But I don't see it getting anywhere near where I think it's going to be over the long term. Once Planet 13 is federally legalized, or not Planet 13, once cannabis, marijuana, whatever you want to call it, the sale is federally legalized, and in all 50 states, medically and recreationally, it's legal. That's when the stock, I feel, is going to explode. As I stated earlier, there's big money. And when I say big money, like, there's companies, people pay that, they give them their money, they pay them to invest it for them. I have one at Stifel Nicholas. I put money in there, they put it where they think it needs to go. I also do my own, but at the same time, I'm very busy. I don't have time to do everything, so I don't invest everything myself. I do have other professionals that's what they do all day, every day. If I had nothing else to do but look at stocks and learn new stocks and look into more stocks, I'd probably manage my entire portfolio. But I don't have that time, so I need somebody that's still doing that every day, learning for new things. Things change day by day, week by week, month by month. If I'm not getting but 1 or 2 times every 6 months to look into things, I'm not going to be able to stay ahead of the game. So I stick to what I know. I invest a certain amount there. I put in a certain amount into Stifel. But those big companies, they're not allowed to invest in anything that's not federally legal. So the dispensaries, the growers, the anything, they can't even put money in it. If tomorrow it became federally legal, you're talking about billions of dollars that are going to go into cannabis markets, which is going to drive the price up. Then once it's all federally legal and every state is recreational, every state is medical, then the sales are going to go up. The taxes will go up for the feds. The profits will go up for the companies. It's across the board. Everything's going to go up. In the long run, I feel like it's inevitable. Federal legalization will happen at some point. When, nobody knows. We thought it was going to be here. Probably when I was younger, I would have said never. If you would have asked me 5 or 6 years ago, when I saw the states that had legalized it with the amount of federal or state taxes they're making, I figured the Fed would want to get in on that. Once they realize how much money they can make, I think it's a no-brainer, and it'll be legal. But about 5 years ago, if you would have asked me, I would have said within the next 5 to 10. With the way things have played out, and now that Donald Trump is president, and he's made it clear that that's not really on his radar whatsoever of something he needs to focus on, I'm saying you could be looking at another 5 to 10 years before it's on, the ballot or have a realm of possibility of being federally legal. Given that, now that you have that of, Planet 13, that's one of the reasons I said I shouldn't be buying that stock in this portfolio. I'm trying to show you guys how to smartly invest your money. Although I do feel it is a smart investment, I feel it's still an educated guess. I mean, you can't guarantee that marijuana will ever be federally legalized. You can just assume. And when you assume, sometimes, you know what that equals. That's what I'm talking about. But if you look at the company itself, it has everything it needs to be in the best place it can be if it does become federally legal to blow up and take over. If you look at, like the beer companies, there's only a couple beer companies and they just make a bunch of different brands, but it's all owned by 2 or 3 majority big companies. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, they have other brands, but the majority of it is Coke and Pepsi. I feel like Planet 13 will be one of those. I've done a lot of research into this company. I've been to their store in Las Vegas. Uh, they're on like a whole different business aspect than most dispensaries. They have an amazing board of directors. They have lawyers, they have politicians, they have people that know not only how to get past certain things, but who they need to be in connection with. I don't care if it's right, I don't care if it's wrong. You know, knowing that, hey, being friends with this person or this group is going to help you pass this or might create a loophole here, that's key in business. I'm not justifying what is being done. I'm just telling you that if your sole purpose is to make money off of what's being done, you need to know who knows how to get things done. And Planet 13, they know how to do a lot. They know the laws. They know loopholes. They know, how to handle politicians. They know how to make it sound good for the city. They know how to make it sound good for the state. And they're in several states. I saw it was 4 or 5. Another in Illinois, Florida, Nevada. I think there's somewhere else they just got into. And I like the way they get into the markets. A lot of places and states, they have a limit of how many dispensaries there can be, how many growers there can be, things like that. So what they do is a lot of the times they'll go into a state where they're not in yet, and instead of having to apply for an application and doing all this, they'll buy a smaller company that already has one, that has a facility, that has the license, that has everything they need, and they just go in there and take over. I haven't checked a lot of the other states, but I know the last time I looked at it in Nevada. So Planet 13 actually started off as a store called Medicines. Planet 13 used Medicine's license to open Planet 13. Then once everything got going, they got another license for Medicines to run that. Medicine is a very small shop compared to Planet 13. Planet 13 is what they consider a mega store. It's huge. It's the biggest showroom you're going to see. You can hang out there. They have a consumption lounge. I want to say they've recently got their restaurant or place where you can eat in there. They're working on having a nightclub. Like, it is a whole environment inside Planet 13. Whereas if you've ever been to another dispensary, you go in, it's a counter, maybe a couple counters. They're not that big. Planet 13s are like the size of a Walmart compared to a corner store for most dispensaries. They have the brand name, they have the brand recognition. It was over 80% of the dispensaries in Nevada sold Planet 13's products. And that was one thing when I read about and I looked more into that really got me big on Planet 13. Now, if you think about this from a different aspect, that would be, it's somebody's product is in such high demand that the competitor is selling it in their stores. I'm trying to think of somehow something relatable to that. But so if Dunkin' Donuts started selling a Starbucks drink in their store, or they had 3 or 4 products that Starbucks made and was labeled Starbucks inside Dunkin', or vice versa. That is what it's like. There is such a high demand for their products and so many people coming into their stores asking for the products that are made by the Planet 13 company. They have their own gummies, they have their own flour, they have their own everything. Edibles, wax, concentrates, whatever. They make their own. And they're such a good product and have such a following that customers go into every dispensary looking for them just because of the name. So if you have 80% of your competition selling your product for you, I mean, that's just mind-boggling. Let alone if you look into the profit margin on the product, the growth of sales on the product, the fact that it's becoming more and more legal in different states. I mean, I feel like the possibilities are endless. Let alone if it was just them. But when your product's so demanded that your competitor's like, I'll sell it to whatever. Let me get some so I can make $1 off of you too. That's crazy to me. And that was, like I said, when I saw that, that was what made me look more into the company. When I saw that their product was in such high demand that 80% of the dispensaries that had nothing to do with them carried and sold their products, I'm like, man, they might be onto something. So I hope that gives you more of a breakdown of the company itself, why I'm so big on it, but at the same time, why I say I can't or shouldn't buy it in this portfolio. I mean, it's not federally legal. Big investment corporations can't even put money into these stocks because it's not federally legal. So it's kind of hard for me to tell you to do something that Stifel Nicholas or, Morgan Stanley and stuff like that, they are not allowed to do, but I'm telling you to do it. I feel like I'm in between a rock and a hard place because I do feel that it is a great investment opportunity. Again, it's an educated guess. I'm saying, in my opinion, 100% it's federally legalized at some point. Maybe 99%. I'd have to say there's always that 1% chance something crazy happens. 99% is federally legal. I would say 65% yes, 35% no. This company becomes what I think it's going to be. The Starbucks of its, of its market. The Dunkin' of its market, a Marlboro, a Newport, Budweiser, Coors Light, one of those big established brands that sucks up a huge portion. And if you get a huge portion of the sales in the marijuana industry after it's federally legal, sold in every state, medically and recreationally, that's a wrap, Jack. I mean, I don't know if you know what the profit margins are, and I don't know if you don't know how many people use said product, but that's big boy money. You're talking trillions of dollars in revenue off of, marijuana will be made once it's federally legalized in 50 states. And if you look at Starbucks sales and you look at Dunkin' sales, and it's going to beat all of them. I mean, not Planet 13 per se, but when you look at tobacco compared to marijuana, I'm going to say marijuana sales will probably outdo tobacco in 15 years. Just a guess. You're going to be talking about the same numbers alcohol's putting up in sales. I just firmly believe throughout 15, 20, the long term, 15, 20 years, this market is going to explode. It's going to be legal. And once it's federally legal, that's when the whole game flips. But it's hard for me to tell you to do that until it's federally legal. But I'm not going to lie to you. If this thing goes, I've already bought some in a different account. But if this thing goes, if it goes 42 or less, 42 cents, I think I'm buying in this account. If that number's 30 some cents, we're buying. We're buying. I'm sorry. Don't do as I say, not as I do, but all right, you can do a little bit of this too. You know what I'm saying? You don't want none of this, do we? But I just wanted to put out a video of why I say I shouldn't be buying Planet. I also wanted to explain what Planet 13 was. I know this was a little bit of a longer video. But stocks are up. They're going back down a little bit. Day 7, I call between 3 and 7 days. But we're going to wrap this up. Now you know what Planet 13 is. You got an idea of why I say you shouldn't be buying it. But at the same time, you know why I am buying it. If you have money that you can afford to gamble a little higher risk investment, and I'm saying like 5 to 10% of your whole portfolio at this point. Unless you're off, if you're trying to get somewhere I wouldn't do more than 5 or 10% of my portfolio. But if you have, if you're where you need to be and you're looking for a bigger little bit of a game, I can see you going 10%, 15, 20. You want to go 20%? But you already know what it is.
I could buy it, but it's just a rental. It's not a good investment. Being bad with your money is being good at flexing. They always chasing a bag, I guess they couldn't catch it. They tryna be like me, but it's not a good impression.